God, the Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim, Chet, Chesko.
It's Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim, Chet, Chesko. And Chet, Super Bowl 57 is in the rearview mirror. There's so much to talk about as the 2023 season has already started with the loss of both coordinators. Pitchers and catchers open up spring training today in beautiful Clearwater. It was only 86 today, Chet. The Sixers have won 7 of 10, but have fallen into third place in the East. The Bucks have won 10 in a row now. And the Flyers have lost 6 of 8, 5 of those 6 being by 1 goal. As always, there's plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
And we're going to get to all of that, Bill, over the next hour. We are excited about pitchers and catchers reporting for duty in Florida. But as everyone might expect, we're going to spend much of the hour talking about that disappointing second half of Super Bowl 57. We're still trying to get over that disappointment. And today would have been a beautiful day in the Philly area for a parade. It was just, lovely, 62 degrees, partly sunny. But, oh, well, you can't always get what you want, Bill.
Yeah, and we've got great guests tonight to talk about all this. In Delco Times, Bob Grotz is going to join us, and then we have first-timers Fat Mezz, Dom Levy, and Billy Thoden going to join us. But, Chet, I tell you what, I'm going to say this one thing before we get started with Bob. There seems a lot of people in Philly. You know me, I'm not a moral victory guy. There's a lot of people thinking, oh, we had a great season. We did this, we did that. They blew a 10-point halftime lead. There shouldn't be a lot of happiness in what happened to the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we will talk about that, whether it was a successful season or not. We touched on it a couple of weeks ago. We'll talk about it again. Speaking of disappointment, Bill, we got the news that we lost this lady today, Raquel Welch. I had her poster on my bedroom wall when I was a teenager.
Who didn't?
Proud to admit that.
Who didn't?
Yeah,
raise your hand in the comment section if you did not have her poster on your wall.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's get to it. Let's welcome Delco Times Bob Grotz back to Philly Press Box Radio. Bob, welcome. I'm thinking you had a poster too.
Oh, hey, I still got it. It's up in the room now. Yeah.
Right.
What's up, Bill? Hi, Chet. Good to see you guys.
Bob. Yeah, I actually do still have the poster rolled up in my garage just in case I want to look at it again someday. So rest in peace, Raquel.
Yeah, how old was
she?
82.
How much? Oh,
82.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Didn't look like
Bob,
it.
Yeah. Let's talk football. Get our mind off of that and talk football. It was a memorable season. Didn't end quite the way that we wanted it to. A 10-point halftime lead for the Eagles. Then the Chiefs had 4 second-half drives and scored on all of them. We like to place blame on people as Philadelphia sports fans. What the hell happened in that second half?
Yeah, they didn't get a stop. Not one stop. That's the first time all season. And, it's kind of funny to me because people want to blame the referee for that, 2 plays before that, Mahomes on one leg took off for like 28, 26 yards. I mean, you got to make a play at some point. And I think Andy Reid just really, his play calling down there, I mean, it was expert. It was almost like he had plays ready for just the last drive, and and also, what do they call it? The chapel or church mode, that last minute, they practice that where the guy takes a knee right at the goal line and then they burn the rest of the clock. I know you guys, well, if you're like me, I mean, I remember asking them every week, why did you call this timeout then? Or, why did you let that much time go off the clock? That was textbook. And so, yeah, Andy Reid just, really outcoached Nick. And Nick did a good job. They were up at the half. But that dog mentality, I don't know why for example, at the beginning of the second half, they didn't throw at least a few blitzes, try some different things, and see how hurt Mahomes was. I don't even know. And part of that, guys, I wonder about Mahomes too. I wonder if, that deal he went through at the end of the first half. Yeah, he got tackled, but it seemed to me like he really overdid it. And Rick Burkholder, the former Eagles trainer, is over there, and he's like, man, not that bad. Everything was calculated on their part. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. He did not look like he was hurt in the third quarter, and he did not look like he was hurt on that scramble late in the game that set up the winning field goal.
Yeah. I was going to start out with the exact same thing, Bob. I thought Andy Reid called the best game I've ever seen him call at any point. He took the defensive line out of the game with his mostly quick release, never threw the ball downfield, never threw anything risky. And then his offensive line took over a bit. And, Gannon's getting the blame. But I'm with you. Somewhere along the line, somebody had to make a play.
Yeah, someone had to get aggressive there. And Gannon, that first half that was powerful, what they did there. And now he's the head coach of the Cardinals. And I don't think he had a bad game, but because your guys got to get that stop. But it was pretty clear, especially on those two walk-in touchdowns. I mean, Andy Reid, he just knew when to put the motion out there, and he knew what was going to happen. I mean, two walk-ins in the Super Bowl. That pretty much says it all. So, and the big shame to me is we all know, like the Super Bowl, that's when you really find out something about quarterbacks. And I think we found out a lot about Jalen Hurts. I mean, that game, that old cliche, is the stage going to be too big for him? He was great. He was awesome. So that they spoiled a fine performance by him. And by the way, too, I'm still laughing about this. Vic Fangio is the consultant for 2 weeks. Did they overdo everything or what? Over-prepared? I mean, he was 0-6 against Andy Reid and the Chiefs. And they were giving up an average of 28 points a game, and they bring him in to be a consultant. And they give up 38.
Right.
So I don't, maybe they were trying to do too much of his game plan. I don't know, but it'll be fun to see who the next defensive coordinator is. And I really don't have much of a feel for that right now, guys, because they need somebody who runs that Fangio defense. That's what the personnel is.
I don't want to dwell too much more on what happened Sunday. I want to look forward. And you mentioned Jalen Hurts. What kind of contract is he going to get? I think Joe Banner said somewhere between $47 and $52 million a year. Is that really possible?
Yeah. If you look at the exclusive franchise tender, it's like $48 million. And that's kind of what Lamar Jackson would be aligned for, if it's the exclusive tender. But that's kind of a starting point. That's the average of the top five salaries in the league. And that's inflated by Deshaun Watson's contract, that huge guaranteed contract. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to, to me, the interesting part is going to be how much they guarantee. With, for example, I don't think they'll do something like everybody says they'll get a Kyler Murray contract. Murray has huge bonuses in there for games played because he's missed some time. I don't see him doing that with Hurts. Do you guys? I mean, that guy's going to be there every week if he can. So, and I'm not saying that's the reason they did it with Murray, but I don't see the Eagles doing anything like that. But that's going to be the big deal to me is like how much is guaranteed, how they structure that. But that average, that's about right. And you look at the quarterbacks around the league and what he gives his team a chance to win every week. It's worth it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think the money will be staggering, but the money in the league is staggering anyway. So, I think they're going to go all in with him.
Yeah, and the other thing is, too, and we've seen that a little bit with the Chiefs, is when they paid Mahomes, you sometimes you can't pay the rest of the team. I mean, you can pay the rest of the team, but you can't get exactly the premium. You can't pay premium prices for premium players. So – but they've done a good job, and everybody talks about Howie doing a great job. The GM out there who used to work in Philly, Brett Veach, he's done a heck of a job. He got rid of some Tyreek Hill and some other guys, and he got a first-round pick and a second for him. He's done a good job. So that's the way the Eagles are going to have to do it too. They're going to have to hit on the 2 first-round picks that they have, and they're going to have to hit on that second and third rounder, at least to the point where they can develop it. And by the way, I think it's time. I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles drafted another offensive tackle that they could move inside the guard, because Ciamalo is a free agent, and then move him out to where Lane Johnson is. He's had some injury issues, and the other guy I think would be a cornerback or a defensive lineman.
Yeah. Well, let me throw some names at you.
Yeah,
tell me if you got to stay or go on Miles Sanders, first one.
Oh, I'd let him go. Can you see him taking a knee at the 1 yard line? I could see him running out of bounds, but not making that kind of a heads up play. He's got a lot of talent. Too many, just with the running backs they have on the team, they really don't need him. They can get it done without him. And we saw the way that they lost trust with him after those 2 fumbles.
Yep. How about Isaac Somala?
I would actually. You know what? I don't know that I would. Yeah, I mean he's worth a lot of money. If he takes the hometown discount, I would. I think he'd be crazy if he did. He could get one of those Halapula Vitae deals. He could light it up. He's really good. So I think he'll be moving on. I don't think they're with the Hurts with them having to sign Hurts. No, I don't think. I think he'll be smart and he'll go somewhere else.
Well, Bob, let me do it this way. Since we have the list of free agents, who are the real priorities here, the guys to bring back? There's a few guys on defense that you have to bring back, I think. What do you say? C.J.
Gardner-Johnson, for sure. To me, he was the best guy, easily the best guy in the secondary. I guess I would take a look at Javon Hargrave, but he's gonna command a salary around $60 million, like 3 or 4 years, at least 15 to 20. I'm not sure that they want to pay that. Miles Sanders, no. Well, Rick Lovato, actually, believe it or not, he's not. I checked with this. He's not free. He had he restructured his contract. He has 1 more year.
Okay.
TJ Edwards, I would do that. I don't think would cost you a lot. Jackson, nah. I mean, none of these other guys I really would be concerned about. Dillard, I wouldn't. Boston Scott, you could get another running back. He's been really good for him. Brandon Graham, I would bring him back, and I don't think they'll have problems figuring out what a reasonable salary is for him. And by the way, he needs 1 more year with the Eagles. That'll make it 14, and he'll match Chuck Bednarik's record for longest tenure with the Eagles ever. So, and Bradbury, I don't think there's much of a chance they bring him back. He's going to want to get paid. Kaiser White, no. I think that's kind of what they brought. They drafted people to take his place. Marcus Epps, I might, but again, hometown discount. I think Sue is going to end up in Cleveland with his old defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. So those guys, so really the big guy to me is C.J. Gardner. I mean that's the guy that I want to have. Ciamalo, if he'll take a hometown discount. And then after that, I think they can do some damage in the draft. So depending on what's going to be available, but this is going to be a really good draft too, from what I've heard.
It's probably too early to know, but do you have a gut feel on what do you think about Jason Kelce? Is he staying, going? Is he going to pack it in?
Wow, I thought for sure he would be back. He's really enjoying it and really, I mean, just really feeling it. But now I'm not so sure. We talked to him. We were just shooting the before they took off for Arizona, and you can just a bunch of guys. We were peppering them with questions. Nobody had their notebooks out, and he said there were a lot of other factors in that, and another, there's a family connection or deal in here. His third daughter's is on the way any minute now, but and also the preparation, even with how easy it is compared to when he first broke into the league, with how easy it is to get through a season. He doesn't have to practice much. He said Nick has been really good about it. he said it was really difficult with when Doug was here, because all the practices and stuff that Doug did. But even with that, he had some. It wasn't a slam dunk. He would come back, and as a matter of fact, I interpreted that as I don't think I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think he's going to retire. I think he's he's had a long career, and they drafted to take care of Cam Jurgens. I think he's got some promise, and maybe he could even help as some kind of a consultant, or something, because he's really helped a lot of guys on that offensive line improve. Stoutland is the man, but Kelsey, he kind of reinforces it. So yeah, I think I'm guessing, I'm thinking that he's moving on.
Hey, Bob, we gave Howie Roseman a lot of credit for what he did draft night when he got A.J. Brown, of course, and for his first few picks. But in retrospect, Jordan Davis had a few good games before he got hurt, but hasn't done a whole lot since then. I think he only had 10 or 11 snaps in the Super Bowl, and Nakobe Dean didn't get on the field much this year because the guys in front of him were playing so well. So what is the future for Jordan Davis? Is he, really going to be the stud that we thought he was?
Yeah, he's going to have to kick it up a notch. I absolutely agree. He was playing better probably earlier in the year, but and then his playing time diminished a little bit when Linville Joseph and Ndamukong Suh came aboard. So he doesn't have quite that their fire. So he's a real big guy. He's got a lot of talent and a lot of strength and everything. So yeah, I need to see more from him. Nakobe Dean, he's not the biggest guy in the world. I mean, if you stood next to him, you'd say, you play what position? He looks like Boston Scott to me, kind of, like a kind of a tiny running back, but he's very fast, very smart. So I think you can expect some more from him. And guys, I think somebody that they might consider in the draft, if he's there at number 10, is that, and he might be dropping a little bit, is Miles Murphy of Clemson. He's like 6'7". He's close to 300, maybe a little bit over, very fast. He reminds me, I'm not comparing him at all, but he reminds me of Reggie White, the way that he can set the edge there and also just bull rush a guy or club him right into the quarterback. So I like that. And then, maybe they take an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman, but there's a possibility that Murphy doesn't drift all the way to 10.
Hey, Bob, before we run out of time, which we're almost already running out, you're a Delco guy. What's the celebration? What's the vibe on Joe Klecko being elected to the Hall of Fame finally? Great news for us Delco guys.
Absolutely, yeah. And Joe's real proud of it. The funny part of that was when, you guys know the story. Joe Namath came to his front door, and his wife said, "It's for you." And he opens the door and he sees Joe Namath, who told him he was in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. To me, if I saw Joe Namath at my door, I thought he'd be selling me Medicare stuff, or one of those programs, because I see him pitching that all the time. Right. But he just that's really good. I'd like to see Billy White Shoes Johnson too, another Delco guy from Chichester.
Yeah.
He's the only guy from the all-decade team that in what was it, the 80s? Yeah, that isn't in the Hall of Fame. I don't, that can't, that has to be taken care of, I think. So yeah, that's a big deal. And Klecko, did you guys see him walk to the podium when he's not walking as good as he used to? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Those were the days when they gave it all to the organization. I remember he played with a broken leg once. So I'm wondering, did they straighten it? Great guy. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they straightened it and then he played anyway and bent a little bit. But what a great guy, and what a credit to Chester and to St. James High in Delaware County.
Bob, last thing from me. Before they cleaned up the confetti Sunday night, they put out the Super Bowl odds for next year. And the Chiefs, not surprisingly, are right at the top of the heap. You got the Bengals and Bills and then the Eagles. How tough is it to get back after a defeat in the Super Bowl like that? A lot of teams have really struggled to get back the following year.
Yeah, it is really difficult. I don't have the exact stat in my mind or head right now, but I can't remember the last time it was done. I think it was New England. I think so. And they just they're an up and coming program, the Eagles, but I think those odds kind of tell you, best team in the NFC again, and the 49ers. Those things are interesting, but I think it's going to be, they're going to have a tough time, I think, next year, the Eagles, in the NFC, because they're losing both the coordinators. That continuity was huge for them. They hadn't had that for a while, so that's going to be hard. Depending on who the offensive coordinator is, people are saying Brian Johnson. This guy, Mike McCoy, Jacksonville quarterbacks coach, he's a great friend of Nick Sirianni. I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up here. I'm sure Doug would let him out of his deal down there as the quarterbacks coach in Jacksonville. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's in there somewhere. And he's a real good offensive mind too. So that's going to be tough to replace those two coordinators. And then you got Kelsey. I mean, if he moves on, and I have a feeling he will, that's going to be different. I mean, there's going to be some adjustments, and whoever the new coordinator is on defense, I don't know that the coordinator is in-house right now. I don't. It's got to be somebody with the personnel that they have. It's got to be somebody who knows that Vic Fangio defense. So, and right now, I'm sure they're hard at work at that. I just don't know who it would be.
Very good. Well, hey, Chet, I don't know if you saw the note here. Bob asked if we could show that promo picture again. Can you?
Oh, yeah. You
get
guys
to that?
Cutting edge. How about that?
Huh? Look at that.
That is unbelievable, guys.
All right. We can email that to you, actually, can't we, Chet?
Yeah, sure we could.
Yeah, if you get a chance, go ahead. You guys are geniuses. Always a pleasure.
I don't know about the genius part, but hey, Bob, I know you write for the Delco Times. Any other social media places people can follow your work and see what you got going
Bob
on?
Grotz, yeah, and my stories too. Like I was there at Super Bowl week. If you were having, it's too late now, but if you were having trouble sleeping that week, you just pull it up on the internet, and start reading. I think about the third or fourth paragraph. You'll be able to get to bed, get a good night's sleep. And get
we
up
know
for
better.
Work on
we
time.
know better than that, pal.
I'm sure you had a good time out there.
Yeah, it was.
Oh man. Well, Bob, hey, thanks for taking the time to visit. Let's do it again, and we'll talk. Maybe we'll talk Phillies or Sixers or Flyers or something else.
All right. I'll see you guys. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Bob.
Take care, Bob.
Hey, Chet. I'd like to say winter is here, but it's darn near getting to be springtime up there in the beautiful Northeast with this great weather you're having. But, hey, you may be spending more time on your couch before you know it than you are in your car. It's time for you to start saving with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, Pennsylvania, that is Dave Lavoie. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700. And start to save more now that you are driving less.
Very good. Hey, Chet, we talked last week about baseball in November and football in February. Here we are 3 days between the Eagles Super Bowl and the Phillies spring training. You excited about the 2023 Phillies?
Yeah, it's funny. Late January, early February is often a downtime on the Philly sports scene. But when the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, well, we lose a lot of that downtime, and that's okay. That's a great thing. All of a sudden, yeah, it's pitchers and catchers time. I think tomorrow's the official reporting day. I know a lot of them were there today. And before you know it, there will be spring training games, and then we'll be talking about what the roster is going to look like on opening day. Of course, I'm excited. They made some nice additions over the offseason, the short offseason, and they absolutely should be a contender again. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun spring.
They are going to be fun. I think, expectations certainly are a lot higher this year than last. So that will be fun to watch. Of course, Bryce Harper needs to get healthy soon. We'll see how that goes. And by the way, Chet, did you see the story I actually posted a little bit ago about Bryce Harper walking through the Arizona airport?
I saw the video of that. Yeah, handed somebody his shoe to keep because he didn't have a Sharpie to sign a hat or whatever. So we just gave the guy his shoe, right?
Right. A kid. I think it was a kid. But, yeah, he wanted to sign his hat. He didn't have a Sharpie, and a regular pen wasn't going to work on his hat, so he took off his sneaker, signed it, and gave it to the kid, and walked through the airport with one sneaker on.
Very
stuff.
cool. And Phillies also announced that Scott Fransky and T-Mac have both signed long-term extensions. They're still sorting out the rest of the radio crew. Larry Anderson, though, will do about 60 games this year, up from just weekends last year, so that's good. One report said Kevin Stalker is the favorite to get the remaining radio games. We like Kevin, so that'd be great. And Bill, I know you're excited about the Ghost Runner coming back in Major League Baseball.
Oh my gosh. Of all the things, that one, geez. The one that will be interesting, we'll talk more about this during the spring, is the pitch clock and how that's going to work. And, is the batter's not ready, the pitcher's not ready. There's all kinds of stipulations here. But the result is a ball or strike, I guess, goes against the pitcher or hitter. So we'll talk more about that as we see how it works out in the playoffs or in the spring training. But also no shift. So the shift rule is in play starting in spring training. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Gonna be very, very interesting. You know what else is interesting, Bill? A lot of things going on at the Irish Rover Station House. Right now, in fact, Wednesday night, they have Quizzo night. So every Wednesday, they have Quizzo. They also have great prime rib dinner specials on Wednesdays, killer burger Thursdays, music Saturday nights. And because we just had Valentine's Day, they've got some dinner specials there that they're keeping all week long, including Maytag scallops, baked chicken cavatappi, chimichurri steak salad, all sorts of other things. Check the website for that. And then coming up very, very soon, in fact, next Thursday, the 23rd, the Irish Rover will celebrate its 10th anniversary at its Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne location and 26 years in business overall under current ownership. You just know that's going to be a fun evening. Find out more about all of the above at the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, or just check their website. And that, of course, is IrishRoverStationHouse.com. And Bill, before we continue, we got this.
It's me, Jackie Bam Bam from 93.3 WMMR, Philly Press Box Radio. Chet, Bill, what are you doing? It's me, Jackie Bam Bam. Hey, Chet, Bill, I love you. All the best. Bye.
I love that guy.
Good stuff. Hey, one other comment. PJ posts up here in bigger bases. I sent you that picture today. What's interesting to me on that is they're only, I think, by looking at that picture, they're only making the bases longer, right? They were 18 by 16 or whatever. Now they're 18 by 18, if I got my numbers right. So the lead to second isn't shorter, and the home to first isn't shorter. They've extended the base from the 16 inches down the right field line, say, to 18 inches. So there's more base to step on. And then
I did not know that. That's interesting.
I think that's right. And then the inlet dimension towards second didn't change.
Okay. I was wondering about that because, people say it's only a couple inches, but I think that does make a difference because there are so many really, really close plays.
Right.
So
where it could make a difference is if the first baseman has his foot on that 2 inches of base that didn't used to exist to field a ball, say, from the second base, or a throw from the second baseman, it's going to get there faster. But as far as the runner getting to first or stealing second, I believe the bases are the same dimensions that they always were.
Cool.
All right.
I know we have a lot of different people joining us tonight because I posted on the Fat Mezz community page, and they're all excited about the fact that Billy Thoden and Dom Levy will be on the show, and that'll be coming up in just a few minutes. So stick around, folks. That's coming soon.
That's right. We just have a little Flyers to talk about first, Chet. Let's call it a rough spot. 6 losses in the last 8. They've ended any playoff chances they might have had as they tried to creep up a little bit. Not playing bad hockey overall when you're losing all your tight games. 5 of the last 6 by 1 goal, but they're losses and they're out. You watching any Flyers here this winter?
Not much.
You done? You done with them?
I'm not done with them. Sometimes I'll put it on while I'm doing other things, but I haven't just watched them intently because they just don't excite me this year, Bill. I mean, I like Tortorelli more than most of the players. But yeah, one thing they really need to do is win those close games. We knew from the start that this probably wasn't going to be a playoff team. So it's more now about finding out who deserves to stay with the team, who might be trade chips ahead of the deadline. I think March 3rd, that is, and who are the guys to build around for next year. So that's the stuff to watch now. I don't think they have a real shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, well, and they're trying to build some toughness, which they are doing that. And, you're right. This was kind of a mail-in year. I think anything that sniffed the playoffs was probably going to be bonus.
Yeah, so don't get your hopes up, Flyers fans. But, hopefully Tortorelli will stick around and players will stick with him, and he can work some magic next season, perhaps.
That's right. Well, hey, you mentioned Fat Mezz. You had a chance to visit with one of your favorite local bands, Dom Levy and Billy Thoden. Tell us about them. Tell us where you met them guys and what's up with Fat Mezz.
All right, a little background. At least every other weekend, I go to see some live music at local taverns. One of those bands is Soul Custody. That's Soul Custody. And I'm friendly with the three guys in that trio. And one of them is Ed Wall. And he and I one night were talking about local bands. And he asked me if I had seen or heard Fat Mezz yet. This was back in November. I told him I thought I had seen the name, but I hadn't gotten out to actually see them. He told me he had seen them a couple of times and that they are amazing. They're four young guys, early 20s, but that they play stuff from our generation. And they're fantastic at it. Boy, was he right. I checked them out in person a mere 2 weeks later, and I've gone to see them several times since then. Trust me, sample some of their music on Facebook or YouTube. Of course, you'll get to hear a few snippets in this interview that I'm going to play for you. Oh, very important. I know we have a lot of Mezz heads, as they're called, watching us tonight. And here's the deal. This is a 9.5-minute version of my chat with Dom and Billy. But as soon as our Philly Press Box show is over, you can catch the full 13.5-minute interview, which will be up on YouTube at 8 p.m. Eastern time with even more juicy stuff in it. But with that being said, here you go. Enjoy a little Fat Mezz.
Baby, what you wanna do? I think I can stay with you for a while, live longer if I do.
Well, this interview is airing during our Philly Press Box radio show. These guys have absolutely nothing to do with Philly sports, but I don't care. It's rock and roll from the great band Fat Mezz. It's Dom Levy and Billy Thoden. Hey, guys.
What's going on? Hello.
All right, so from what I understand, your fantastic band, which is you guys plus drummer Corey Chodes and guitarist Kurt Foster, officially formed in March of 2020. And as most people know, that's about the same time the pandemic hit the U.S. Great timing on your part, guys.
Yeah. It's all planned out. Yeah, we had a bunch of other groups we were in, and when COVID hit, they all broke up because there was no gigs. And then we were just sitting doing nothing, and then we were just like jobless, and we're like, well, we'll jam, we'll see what happens, because we used to all four play together for years, and we finally, we're just like, oh, we have some time to jam and see what happens, and then it just kept turning into stuff, and then once bands were able to like play out, for a little bit in the summer, we just got some gigs out of Wildwood outside, and it just all kept snowballing from there.
July of 2020 was probably our first gig, early July, late June was our June 28th, Kurt Foster says.
Yeah.
All right, so you may not want to draw attention to just how damn young you guys are, but I have it on good authority that at least a couple of the guys in the band were born in this century. I envy you. And that begs the question, how the hell does a bunch of Gen Z guys end up playing predominantly music from the 1960s and 70s? I'm guessing good parenting.
Yeah, I guess partly that. But it's also just like, for me, it was like when I heard the Beatles for the first time, it blew me away. And then I just was like, I just tried to discover as much stuff as I, like that or stuff I enjoyed. And it kind of just, it started from there. My parents are both big Beatles fans, so I guess that's where that came from. It's just a lot of discovery and finding stuff you like, and I love a lot of music. I love all music, really. So it started, though, as classic rock for me, personally.
Yeah, well, Billy, on your end, were your parents influential in, having you end up playing guitar and deciding you wanted to get into music?
100%. I played in a band with my dad from 2009 till 2020, basically. He showed me Stevie Ray Vaughan when I was like 6. I was sitting there playing with Legos. I was like, hey, help me build this. He's like, only if you watch this video, I'll help you. And then I watched him play Pride and Joy on MTV Live on acoustic. And I literally said, that's exactly what I was like, I want to do that. And then he got me a guitar like the next week. And yeah, I really never stopped since then. And I grew up on like a little farm town, had no friends really or anything. So that's all I had to do was play guitar. And yeah, my dad very much sparked most of that and helped me like stick with it and not like, because like, you know, there's been a lot of things in my life where I've like done for a little bit and then be like, I'm going to do something else. But music's been that one consistent thing always. And I have to attribute a lot of that to, he kept me going and didn't let me fall off.
I mean, I started playing music when I was about 15. I tried to play when I was 11, and that was violin. And from that start, I wasn't destined to play. I was the worst violin player in, I think, history. And I played that for about a year until I decided, which was probably the best thing, to give up violin. And I started getting back into Matchbox Cars and Tornadoes. And then I was doing comedy for about like 6 months before I saw McCartney, and then I said, screw comedy, I'm not funny. I might as well do music because it looks enjoyable and he's having a good time on stage. And I like to do that. So then I got infatuated with it. And then I sucked at playing bass for about 4 years.
By that time, you'd already heard the Beatles, though, right? Like,
yeah, I've already. That's why I went, because I like the Beatles, and I was just like, my dad was like, "Oh, do you want to see Paul McCartney?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll see Paul McCartney. I like the Beatles. I like Penny Lane. Let's do it." Like he portrayed this energy live that I felt, and I wanted to take that energy and use that for other things, and it was amazing. I couldn't explain it.
He mentioned that you were doing some comedy. Your father, we should note, is somewhat of a raunchy comedian, Bob Levy. He was on the Stern Show for a while, played a little bass guitar back in the day. Did he influence you at all to, try the bass?
So, yeah, I started playing, after I saw McCartney, I tried to play the guitar. And I just struggled with it. I didn't know you had to put pressure down. I just couldn't play it. It was another thing. It was another violin situation. So then
he's currently great at guitar, by the way, now. So it's kind of crazy.
Okay.
It took years.
He really is.
But
it's awesome.
But I told my dad, I said, I can't play this guitar. What do I do? And he said he was in a band back in the day called Van Levy. He would play bass, and he said, I said, okay, I'll try it out. And I tried to play Get Back by the Beatles. There's 2 notes. The song is just 2 notes back and forth. It just holds the A for a couple bars, holds D for a couple bars. I couldn't get the changes, and I was doing comedy at the time. And my dad said, give up doing this bass thing. You suck. And you just stick with comedy. You're kind of good at it. And I wasn't good at it. He was just trying to make me feel good. And then I had that stubborn thing where like a parent tells you not to do something or you're not, and I go, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to practice my ass off. So I just sat in my room, and it's similar to Bill. I had no friends kind of growing up. So I just be sitting in my room playing the bass or walk around the hallway. It does help. Friends actually hinder a lot of things. I kind of, nowadays it's cool, but back then, But yeah, I just started.
That's what we tell ourselves.
That's what we tell ourselves, yeah, to make ourselves.
You play covers by legendary artists like the Beatles, the Stones, the Allman Brothers, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Tom Petty, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and Neil Young, Stevie Ray Vaughan, as you mentioned, Stevie Wonder, The Doors, the Doobie Brothers, America, Elton John, Leonard Skinner, I go on and on. But what's really interesting to me is that it seems like both you guys have a real affection for the blues. Am I right, Billy?
100%. That's probably the biggest common theme within the 4 of us.
One way out there, and I just can't go out and go.
You guys do dozens of amazing covers, but you've also written several originals. What is the writing process on those songs?
There's a lot of different ones. For some songs, like a song like How Would You Know, me and Bill wrote that one together in about 15 minutes. And we were just hanging out, and we were in his room, and I was like, let's write a song. And we were just tired. And we just started coming up with it. And before you knew it, we had a song.
Gotta tell you, I love that song.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that one.
It's simple. It's catchy. It's got some good words in it.
Yeah, it has a good meaning behind it. That's actually kind of means something. So yeah,
cool.
But some of them come in where like with Kurt, he wrote Pretty Blonde Noose, and he wrote it himself, and he just brings it to the group, and he goes, he wanted me to sing it, and he wants me, and I learned the words.
Yeah,
and
it comes alive, kind of live on stage.
Yeah.
And we figure out how it's going to come alive.
There's collaboration within. There's it's a lot of different ways. We don't want to limit ourselves in how we write the song. We don't want them all to sound the same either. We're just trying to make music, and however it comes out, it comes out.
And we don't have a designated formula just yet, which probably isn't a bad thing.
I know I'm not the first to ask, but Dom, can you explain the name Fat Mezz?
So there was a jazz clarinetist named Mezz Mesro in the 40s and 30s, and besides being the biggest jazz clarinetist, he was also the biggest weed dealer in jazz, to a point that they would call weed Mezz. So we were chilling in the backyard, and Kurt brought up, he's like, Mesro. He's like, I like how it sounds, Mezz. I like how it sounds. And we're all pretty stoned. And we're sitting there, and
Little Mezz,
kind of, Smelly Mezz, and then Bill goes, how about Fat Mezz? And I go, it's way better than the other ones, and that's it. And then we're like, that's cool. We call Corey, and I go, Corey. He's like, what? We got a band name. He goes, what is it? I go, Fat Mezz. He goes, that's great. I love it. He's like, I love it.
That's how we knew. We were like, all right, this is what we got.
And we just stuck with it. And then we didn't realize, the funny part about it is now we didn't realize it kind of sounds like the word fat mess. So then people go, you sound great, Fat Mezz. And I just go, yeah, sure.
Mezz.
And it's like, no, it only sounds like a fat mess. That's the difference.
That's funny. Folks, check this band out. Fat Mezz, not Mess, Fat Mezz.
Follow most times.
Facebook and Instagram. Get out and see them. They typically play 3 or 4 gigs every single week all around the Philly and South Jersey area. I promise you won't be disappointed. Billy Thoden and Dom Levy, thanks very much.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Hey, they have a nice sound.
Yeah, they're just awesome. Dom is the elder statesman in the band, by the way. He'll be 24 next week. Kurt, who was in the interview, but Kurt, their other guitar player, has a birthday today, as a matter of fact. So he's, 20, 21, I'm not sure. I also had a nice chat, by the way, with the bass player Dom's mom, Paula. She is a huge Beatles fan, and she obviously is very, very proud of her son.
Our house always had 70s music, 60s music, and that's what we played. And, the rest is history. I think when Dom sings Get Back, love that. I love when all the guys sing together. Thank God they all individually sing on their own. But I think when he sings Get Back or any Beatles song, I just silently tear up.
Yeah, so Fat Mezz is excellent, and they typically do play 3 or 4 shows every week. And this weekend they have shows in Wildwood Friday night, and then in Philly Saturday and Sunday. I'll be there Saturday night at Nick's Roast Beef in Northeast Philly, near Philadelphia Mills, the old Frankel Mills. Go see them. Say hello to me while you're there. I'll be there with 7 or 8 friends Saturday night. Half-minute interview with Dom and Billy, which includes a fun Fast 5 Q&A segment at the end, will be available on YouTube right after our show ends this evening.
Very good. Good stuff.
Yep.
Well, hey, let's give a shout out to all the shows over at the Edge Philly Sports Network this week. Football season has ended, but that hasn't slowed down the coverage, Chet, as you can see. Catch all the action at www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can find our show on Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel as well. Please help us by hitting those subscribe, follow, and like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends.
Hey, Bill, before we move on, I wanted to mention this either during our Bob Grotz chat or right after, but I didn't get to it. I want to play a little game with you. Who are the very best 5 or 6 NFL head coaches of your lifetime? So who are the Furman 5 or the Billy 6-pack? Give me the very best 5 or 6 of the last 60 years.
Well, I didn't see him a lot because I was so young, but Vince Lombardi was always my guy. So I'll go him. Chuck Noll, Steelers. Don Shula, probably Don Shula ahead of Chuck Noll, but right up there with him. Andy Reid is going to be on my list.
That's 4.
And probably I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody, but
You're
I'm going
missing a big one.
I'm missing a big one.
Won a few Super Bowls.
Well, I was going to say Tom Landry is the one that I I think I'm missing, but who am I missing?
You're missing Bill Belichick.
Oh yeah. He's pretty good.
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
Anyway, I mentioned this
the only thing I will say this about Bill Belichick, though, he lost a lot of games in Cleveland before he went to Cincinnati or New England, wherever he went. And
it helped having Tom Brady as his quarterback for 20 years or whatever.
And a lot of things went his way. He was not very successful.
Yeah,
Cleveland.
The reason I mentioned it is because the other night on NBC Sports Philly, Ray Didinger gave his 6 from the last 60 years, and here they are: Vince Lombardi, Don Shula, Bill Belichick, Bill Walsh, who you left out, Chuck Noll, and now Andy Reid in the 6th spot. That's a pretty good list right there. He did not put Tom Landry in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that Dallas thing. I might probably have gotten to Bill Walsh had I thought had a little more time to think about it. He certainly his coaching tree is pretty solid.
I'll say
along the way. So yeah, we were all for good stuff. Hey, Chet, last week you, Boop, and I, Bob Patrone Jr., we did some prop picks to wrap up our season. They didn't go very well with the Eagles not winning that game. Really kind of blew that up. What were our big game results, just for fun?
I didn't mark them all down as far as individually on this particular graphic, but I did check them. And Boop and I were both 5-5 on those 10. You were 4-6, Bill. So we wouldn't have made any big money on those particular prop bets.
Yeah. Well, that's why they played the game. And Chet, I want to say one other thing about the Eagles. We'll get to our closing moment on that, but if you look at the stats of the game, the stat sheet, the stats do lie, because when you look at that sheet, the Eagles dominated the game and didn't win it. Kind of crazy how it all played itself out.
Well, yeah, because in the first half they had the ball a lot of the time because there was the Jalen Hurts turnover, which put them right back on the field on offense. Hurts fumbling, and they scored the touchdown picking up that fumble. So many things we could talk about, but I'm just trying to put it all in the past. I intentionally didn't listen to as much sports talk radio this week as I normally would have, because I know people are complaining about the call at the end and about Jonathan Gannon. There's plenty of complaints about Gannon, and I just needed a break from it. So today I listened mostly to music.
Yeah, well, I understand. And I actually made a little list. There were 4 plays in that game. They always say when you're coaching games and all that, there's just a couple plays that make the difference in the game. And in my mind, there were 4 plays. If I had to throw a 5th one in there, I probably could. I'll go with number 4. The Devontae Smith no catch.
Which was really, really tough to call, either way. I'm not going to fault the refs on that one.
Well, I'm not sure either, but the rule is kind of crazy. If that's a catch, if it is a catch, it's a big play in the game. All right. The punt return, obviously.
Of course, down to the 5-yard line.
Led to 7 points. I will throw in there somewhere that Patrick Mahomes run at the end, that long one that set him right up. But my number 2, obviously, it might be some people's number 1, the Jalen Hurts fumble, unforced error. He didn't get hit; he fumbled. And then the play before it, the Samalo offsides. Instead of first down, they're now 3rd and 6. They fumble the next play, give them 7 points, and the whole game swings around. The Eagles could have been up 31-7 at halftime. Take them 7 off the board, put another 7 on the board, 31-7 halftime, and there's no looking back.
Or at least a field goal, which would have made it, 27.
Right.
Theoretically.
I'm just not buying into the whole they were better than us thing. They did some things better than us, absolutely, but I'm not buying into the moral victory stuff.
And as Bob Grotz said, it was maybe Andy Reid's best ever coaching performance.
He was
terrific. He was terrific. Meanwhile, the Eagles, something they did so well this season was not get any delay of game penalties. They got 1 in this game and very, very close to getting several others. They went right down to the 1 second or half second before it would have been a penalty. So they didn't get a lot of those plays off quickly enough. And Hurts was great. I think Hurts did prove himself. So he is clearly the quarterback, and he's going to get that $47 or $50 million a year.
Oh, yeah. Well, they certainly, they need to continue to build around him because he's going to be their guy.
Yep.
Well, hey, Chet, great guest tonight in Bob Grotz and Fat Mezz, Dom Levy, and Billy Thoden. Who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next week?
Who is coming next week? I have a picture somewhere of who our guest is next week.
You and I.
We'll be here. You know what? I can't find the picture, but that doesn't matter. One of our favorites next week, Bill, she typically joins us every October and every February, and we're going to keep that tradition going. You know who it is. We're going to talk hoops with longtime Sixers reporter Dee Lynam. Always great to get Dee's insight, and it will be especially interesting this time to see if she thinks the Sixers will finally be good enough to get past the second round of the playoffs this year. Who knows? Also visiting our show for at least a few minutes, though, Chris from the Irish Rover ahead of their anniversary event next Thursday. And I just might sneak in a random Chet segment as well.
All right, there you go. Well, hey, you mentioned D. Let's talk Sixers real quick. Still playing solid ball. There's 37-19. They're right at about the 2/3 of the regular season mark. I think they're one game over the 2/3 mark. Barring a total collapse, the playoff spot is guaranteed. So what do you want to see down the stretch, Chet? Play it out and get rhythm that we've talked about every year that they've never had the rhythm going into the playoffs, or you start resting guys for the second season?
Well, they have a huge game happening right now at the center against the team right behind them in the standings, those Cleveland Cavaliers. And then they're off for a week plus for the All-Star break, the All-Star game this Sunday. Bill, I know you'll be watching. So you want to see them win. No, you won't. You'll see them win. You want to see them win this one and then make sure everybody gets a nice break over the next week for the stretch run. As I post the standings, you mentioned that they are now in third place, 37-19. 3 games back, and the Bucks actually got their 11th straight win last night, Bill. So they have been on fire. They may catch and pass the Celtics, but I think those top 4 teams are the teams that will be in the top 4 spots in some sort of order for the rest of the season. Celtics and Bucks, Sixers and Cavaliers. The higher the seed, of course, the better, because you'll increase your chances of getting home court for future playoff games. A top priority, though, is keeping Embiid, Harden, and Maxey healthy, especially the big guy, Bill, who, as you are well aware, often seems to have some sort of malady come playoff team. So keep Joel healthy, please.
Yeah, well, and do you cut his minutes back? I mean, do you you're 3, would you have up there? 3 out?
3 back.
3 back. If they end up 6 back, do you care? And start giving these guys some rest.
I would cut his minutes back a little bit. And same with Harden. I mean, Harden's not a kid anymore, so give him a little more time off and find out what these bench guys can give you. They just signed another backup center. They're still trying to figure out which backup center should get the most minutes, Montrezl Harrell, Paul Reed, or the new guy whose name escapes me. So that's something they got to work on as well, in addition to keeping everybody healthy ahead of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I did like the game the other night where they did play a little less minutes, and all 3 of the big guys all scored in the 25-point range. To me, that's where we've talked about this throughout the season.
Yep.
We don't need Embiid's 40 as much as we need 3 guys with 25.
I'm with you. So, I can't wait to see what Dee has to say next week about all of this, because she's got her finger on the pulse and always has lots of good insight.
There you go. Hey, Final thoughts as we turn the page on the 2020 Eagles. 2022 Eagles, I should say.
It was an exciting season, Bill, and you're going to say it's a disappointment because they didn't win the Super Bowl. Of course, that particular thing is disappointing, but it was a successful season. They were supposed to win, most people thought, 10 or 11 games. If you remember, the over-under was 9.5 going into the season, according to Vegas. They went 14-3. They got to the Super Bowl. So, it was a success. Very, very disappointing final game in Super Bowl Sunday. But we learned a lot of things. We learned that Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson still have it. Hopefully Johnson will be fully recovered. Hopefully Kelce will come back for one more season, another run at the Super Bowl. We learned, most importantly, that Jalen Hurts is a pretty darn good quarterback, Super Bowl or MVP rather, runner up. So that's important. But now, as we discussed with Bob, it's going to be a big challenge for Howie Roseman to get as many of those free agents back as money will allow, and to really hit it on the draft this year when you got 2 first-round picks. So there's a lot to watch for going forward. But I think it was a great season, and I can't wait for next year.
Yeah. Well, I'll add to it. I think I am really disappointed. I think they were fun. They were fun to watch. Whenever you're winning, it's fun to watch. And they were not only winning, but they were dominating people, and they were doing it up front with those lines, which I love. So for that, I'm really happy about. I guess the thing that I'm disappointed with is not winning this final game, because I think this is clearly, talent-wise, the best Philadelphia Eagles football team we've ever seen in our lifetime. To come home without the trophy, to me, is just very disappointing. And it happens. It happens. You move on. But to me, it's certainly disappointing to not have won with the talent and the team they had put together. And then to go one step further, as we said earlier, have a 10-point halftime lead and not be able to slam the door.
Yeah. Oh, well, next year.
All right. Hey, the page is turned. The page is turned on the 2020 football season. Here we go.
Razz it.
All right. Let's take another quick break. Thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Razz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Razz Room. That's right, PPCC 118 Razz Room on Facebook. And Chet, did you know in the Razz Room on Sunday, they gave away a Patrick Mahomes jersey and a Jalen Hurts jersey on the same Razz?
I did not know that, Bill, but that's pretty good.
That's real good. Anything else before we you got any parting shot for you? Anything else?
A couple of things I did want to mention, Bill. Well, first of all,
you wanted to show Raquel Welch picture again, didn't you?
We could post that Raquel Welch picture, or we could mention this legendary movie from 1972, Kansas City Bomber, that I actually enjoyed, and our friend Judy Arnold was also in and acted as a stunt double for Raquel Welch. But that's another story for another time. We're going to have Judy Arnold back on the show, and in fact, we are in the next few weeks and months, so stay tuned for that. Another thing I wanted to mention, we wanted to say get well soon to our pal Ken Dunnick. Ken had heart surgery last week, so he is in recovery mode, doing pretty well, coming along. So get well soon, Ken. And we wanted to say happy birthday to this guy, the Propper, Brian Propp, celebrating a birthday today. And one other thing, Bill, you may love him, you may hate him, but Angelo Cataldi is calling it a career. Finally, this week, I think tomorrow is the last day. They are celebrating him all morning at WIP. I think he's off Friday and off for good now as he moves into retirement. So, a lot of people love him, a lot of people don't, but he certainly did a lot for Philadelphia sports talk radio over the last 30 plus years.
One can only hope he doesn't do a Ray Diddy U-turn. When he goes on his straight out, I hope it continues straight out. That's all I got. Hey, can you put that Ken Dunnick picture up there? We need a couple of them jackets.
Oh, I love that. I know. Isn't that great?
What? Look at that.
Yeah.
I
would like one of those.
Would you be the hit of the party right there?
Absolutely. That's going to be on my birthday and Christmas wish list this year.
Yeah, you could go see Fat Mezz in your Eagles jacket. What do you think in your Eagles sport coat?
Yeah, I'll do it. Why not?
There you go. All right, you ready to wrap it up?
Wrap it up, Bill.
All right, let's thank tonight's special guests, Bob Grotz, Fat Mezz, Dom Levy, and Billy Thoden. Our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Bob Sullivan's LikeYourAge.com, PPCC 118 Razz Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim, Chet, Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, February the 22nd at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on blogtalkradio.com/phillypressboxradio, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. With that, High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.
High hopes.